So something a bit different today. I've got a TM SGR12. Yeah, interesting piece of kit. It's tri-shot, fully automatic. It's pretty much the equivalent to the AA12 in internals wise, but different. You know, in my opinion, a much cooler looking body kit on it. So I'm going to disassemble this because it's a typical kind of upgrade that people want to do. We put 3 tight bore barrels in it. I'm going to use, I think, the ZCI. I think you can pay for £50 a barrel for the Prometheus ones if that's what you want to do, but it's airsoft. It's not real firearms. You know, does that actually really matter? This is a shotgun. So, you know, all those things bear in mind, but if you want the absolute best, in quotes, yeah, put Prometheus barrels in, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put in ZCI with maple leaf hops and omega nubs. And I did have a look at one of these for a previous customer. I've only ever seen 2. I thought about trying to make the trigger response a little bit better. It's tricky given the way the trigger contacts are, the way the cut-off lever for the trigger contact is actuated. So yeah, it's tricky really. The guy was upset about the long trigger pull on it and wanted it to be, you know, really small rather than all the way to there. Hey ho. But yeah, it's not really doable. But what is useful is the putting in a much tougher spring. So we'll check on that because, you know, Eagle 6 quote an M100 equivalent spring to go in here to give you, you know, around about 100 meters per second or 328 feet per second, and 1 joule-ish of energy on a 0.2. But the actual spring, if you're familiar with upgrading anything to DMRs or spring snipers, it's more like a traditional M160 spring. It's really, really tough. So I'm going to have a look at the spring that's in here as stock and the length of it, because it's custom length as well, I think. I'm going to see whether an SHS type spring, an M160 or M170, maybe slightly cut down, would work. But if not, we'll just go with the Eagle 6 spring and put their equivalent M100 in. We'll do that just to get the FPS up a bit, and motor wise, you know, to get it a bit more snappy, because you're pulling quite a hefty spring, to be honest, and it's only the stock TM EG1000 motor in here. So we're going to put in either 22 or I think it's 28 turns per armature ultra high torque motor in here. That just brings the rate of fire right back up again when you put a heftier spring in. So we're going to do that, but the first thing we're going to do is a video on how to take this thing apart. And there's a couple of videos on how to get some of the basic bits off, but stripping it all the way down to actually get to the gearbox at the back and change stuff and get the barrels out and everything else, it's not as straightforward as you'd think. So that's what I'm going to do first, and we'll crack on with that. Okay, so one of the first things to do is 2 long, I don't know what torque size they are, probably T10, maybe a bit bigger torques. One from there, one from there. Next, this bottom rail off. Next thing is front sight, standard hex screw to undo that, and then it reveals underneath a, is it a hex again? Yes, it is another hex. So we'll just pop that out. There we go. And we can pull that piece out. And then I've already taken them out on this side. There's these torques that need to come out from the main body. Let's take those out. Okay. Then we need to take this plate out here, a few other bits and pieces, and then we can take some of this off. Okay, so we've got all the screws out on here now. I've taken the 4 screws. I like to pull this metal plate off the bottom. Don't need to do that right now, but you will do for the next steps. And then this whole upper lifts and slides off. Put that out of the way. And then, yeah, you know, I've got some of the internals now, so you've got the hop for each of the 3 barrels. It's starting to expose some of the gearbox-ish. The gears are right back here, but the cylinder release, which is bespoke. So yeah, we'll start to take some of the next bits off. One bit that's really not that obvious that comes off is you need to take this stop plate off. It's not obvious at all, but you have to basically, I'm going to have to probably do it off camera, but you peel it like that on both sides at the same time, and then it can lift and pull off. So it kind of lifts, slides forward and comes off. It feels like you might break it. Let's see if I can do it on camera. It's quite, there you go, and then you lift it off. So that's that piece. Not obvious at all how that comes off, but you can sort of see there's these locator lugs here where it slides forward and then you can pull it out. So that's that. So then you can start to unscrew the back part of the stock. Like that. And just trying to remember now exactly how this comes off, but then this next bit will come away, I think. Yeah, so yeah, you need to take the butt plate off first. There's a little, it's quite nicely hidden. Push button, push that in. Just put the gun down so we can do it. Slide it off. Pull that out of the way. And there's the fuse system here, which is quite nice to access. The Tamiya connector, but we need to take this screw out here. And there's 2 other Phillips screws there and there. Just take those out. And then that gets the plastic stock to a point where it can come off. There we go. Let's put that all there for a minute. And once you've done that, you can then start to look to get this piece off. Which just pulls way slightly and then down, and then off you come. Pop the fuse out of the fuse holder. I'll sort that out later. And once that bit's off, the upper plastic piece can come off as well. I just remember there's a screw holding it, I just can't remember. No, I don't think so. So then the upper should come off as well. I might just check. I think maybe this screw has to come out. I'll just pop it out anyway. Off comes that. Let's get some of these pieces out of the way. So yeah, now we're starting to get to the meat of this. So this gearbox is quite proprietary. It's got some pretty chunky gears in there, because I mean effectively it's pulling the equivalent of perhaps an M130-ish spring in a standard AEG, but because of the way the air's split between the barrels and everything, you know, you're not getting an M130 spring equivalent FPS because it's split between 3 barrels. So it's quite a, well, it's actually E1000S, so it's probably a slightly higher grade motor than the EG1000, but it still doesn't beat putting an ultra high torque motor in. So if you just wanted to do the motor and nothing else, that's about as far as you need to go really. You can then unscrew that screw there, and that screw there, and I think possibly, no, that's it, 1, 2, 3. Then you can just pull the motor out and swap it over and put it all back together again. But on this, we want to upgrade the barrels as well. It's all going to have to come apart. So we can do the barrels as well and the hops. So yeah, we'll get on to taking the rest of it apart now and getting it fully disassembled.